comes to trading, when it comes to investing, when it comes to this space that we're in, right? It's easy. It's easy to be an individual. Comes to trading. Right. Okay, cool. So we're live on YouTube. So like I said, so it's easy, right? It's easy to be an individual. And that's one thing that we really want to refrain against, right? Is just being individuals. Because it's like I said, it's easy to be an individual, right? It's easy just to go out there and do your own thing. It's easy, right? It's easy to go out there and just do your own thing. It's easy to do your own thing on the charts. It's easy to do your own thing when it comes to business. It's easy to do your own thing. But at the end of the day, we're going to succeed based upon being a team, right? We're going to succeed based upon everybody helping the next person out, right? And if we're not, right, helping that person, helping that individual, then we're not helping ourselves, right? There's something that says in the scripture, and let me get my light straight. I feel like my light is off. But there's something that says in the scripture. It says, to the least of my brethren, what you've done unto the least of my brethren, you've done unto me. And that's something I live by. Right? What you've done unto the least of my brethren, you've done unto me, right? What you do to the least, right, is what you do. That's just part of who you are, right? So again, that's just something that triggers because of that video, right? Because of that video. And it's really going to take us into the next stage, right? Because again, we're on, again, the Forex mindset, right? Forex mindset. Hopefully you can see it. I know it's probably fading out because I got this background on. It's Jared Martinez. Boom, you can see it real quick. But that's it, right? And we're on chapter 6, right? The importance of emotional intelligence, right? We're on the part of the importance of emotional intelligence. And I'll be back and forth here on this video. But let's see this. I'm going to read a couple of things to you, and then we're gonna move forward. It isn't what you don't know that'll hurt you, right? It isn't what you don't know that'll hurt you. It's what you think you know, but isn't so, that ultimately destroys you, right? I remember hearing that at a conference, right? I remember hearing that at a seminar. It was what was it called? It was called Secret to the Millionaire Mind, right? I remember hearing it there, A Secret to the Millionaire Mind. And it's not about what you don't know, right? Because a lot of people think it's like, oh, it's about it's what am I missing? What don't I know? It's going to help me to get to success. It's not what you don't know. It's the things that you already know that just aren't so, right? It's those things that aren't true. And it's like, we're constantly telling ourselves those untruths, right? We're constantly telling ourselves those things that are not true, right? Right? You can look at your success in the market today, right? Whether you caught 5 pips, whether you caught 10 pips, whether you caught 500, right? It doesn't matter, right? That success or failure, right? If you didn't catch any pips or you caught some, but it was negative, right? It's based upon what you know that just isn't so, right? And what's going to happen tomorrow? It's going to be the same thing, right? Tomorrow's not going to be any different. Tomorrow's going to be the same thing. It's going to be more of what you know that just isn't so, right? So when do we change that? When do we shift that, right? So that's what this is. That's what it's all about, right? That's what the Mindset Monday is all about. So it's what you know that just isn't so. So I'm gonna keep going. So one of the major missing parts for the ultimate success equation in trading and life in general is emotional intelligence. Right, and this one is, good God, this is my favorite chapter, right? But it's emotional intelligence. It's emotional intelligence. Research and interaction with traders all over the world confirm that theory. right? It confirms that theory. When traders begin to learn the skill of trading, right? That's what we're doing with colors, right? We learn the skill of trading. That's what we're doing when it comes to support and resistance, Elliott wave, the Bemis shift, right? That's what we're learning with those things. When they learn the skill of trading, right? And I want you to hear this. They really don't care much to talk about their emotions. However, right? However, it's a big however, after a couple of weeks of live trading, they suddenly start to care a lot about how to handle their emotions while involved in the market. For the first time, they are introduced to real emotions of fear and greed. And in most cases, they do not know how to respond effectively, right? Right? You don't know how to respond effectively. So with that, right, with that, not knowing how to respond effectively, when they win, right, when you win, you feel invincible, right? You begin to win a lot, right? You start to feel invincible. And when you lose, we could feel vulnerable and fearful. Either way, with time, most begin to lose control of their emotions while in a trade and begin to self-destruct. We understand the rules and the disciplines of safeguarding our emotions, yet we disobey them all the time when emotions take control of our actions, right? So it's like, yeah, I know the rules. I got my trading plan. I'm following my trading plan. Yeah, until the emotions kick in, right? Until those emotions kick in, you were fantastic, right? You were a top trader until those emotions kick in. And then what happens? Then you disobey all of your rules because your emotions take over. That's why emotional intelligence is super important, right? We fail to realize the cause and effect of these emotional actions, right? So we got to understand, if you're taking notes, right? We got to understand the cause and effect, right? Let's see if I can bring up my whiteboard. I love this thing. All right, we're gonna bring this bad boy up. Share my screen, my whiteboard. And you guys should be able to see it in a moment. All right, boom, okay. So we're straight. So I'm gonna jot on it in a minute. So cause and effect, right? We got to understand the cause and effect, right? Of why certain things happen, why we feel certain ways. We got to understand that. So emotional intelligence is a state in which you exercise positive self-control over negative, damaging emotions. That's emotional intelligence, right? It's exercising positive self-control over negative, damaging emotions. Let me grab my pen. I'm gonna jot this on the board. All right, so here we go. So let's make it orange. Emotional intelligence. Gotta love it. Boom. Emotional intelligence. So we're gonna call it EI, right, for sure. Emotional intelligence. I know you probably already wrote it down, but I'm gonna go ahead and jot it down as well. It is a state right? Emotional intelligence is a state where you exercise positive self-control. See, and the amazing thing when it comes to trading, right? Most people don't know how out of control they are until they start trading. And like, geez, I don't know why I did that. Because you're out of control, right? And again, we've all been there, right? It's not like I haven't identified that I wasn't out of control. I was. And I had to like rein it in. I'm just like, sheesh. I'm over here spazzing, right? Market's moving against me. And I'm just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Until I learned to control it, right? I learned to get a hold of my emotions. I learned like, you know, it's just a little bit of drawdown. Then at the end of the day, it's like, it's not going to hurt me, right? A lot of times we're in the market like, oh my God, it's going to hit my stop loss. It's not like when it hits your stop loss, a truck is going to hit you, right? That would be painful, right? It's not like a truck is going to hit you when your stop loss kicks in, right? It's actually saving you, right? It's protecting you. It's preserving your capital, right? So positive self-control over negative emotions. All right, hold on. My writing is jacked up. I'm writing too quick. There we go. Over negative damaging emotion, right? Let me do this. Over negative damaging emotions. Negative damaging emotions. And what are some negative damaging emotions? Go ahead and throw them in the chat. What are some negative damaging emotions? Feel free to throw them into the chat, please. So negative damaging emotion. Let's see what we got. I can lose it all, right? Yep. So that would be fear, regret, self-pity. Yep. Anger. Yep. So all those, right? Anger is a negative emotion. Self-pity, yes, is a negative emotion. Fear is a negative emotion. Doubt, absolutely. Doubt and fear go hand in hand. Regret, absolutely. Right. So all those are negative damaging emotions. So emotional intelligence is learning how to exercise positive self-control over those emotions, right? So I'll jot some of them down here, right? I'll put the ones that you put in there. So boom. Anger, right? Fear. Doubt. Self-pity. Let's see, there was another one. Let's see, anger, fear, doubt. Let me look at the chat. I think that was another regret. There we go. Right, all these are good, right? All these are the negative, damaging emotions, right? All these guys are these negative, damaging emotions. Anger, fear, doubt, self-pity, regret, right? So, and we're going to talk about, right, what can we do to deal with that? So emotional intelligence, right, is a state where we exercise positive self-control over negative, damaging emotions. And emotional intelligence allows us to tap to the right information within our brain that gives us the discernment to engage the proper human connections with the right influential people who will enhance our lives, right? At trading, emotional intelligence helps us tap into the appropriate information within our left brain and gives us the correct logical information while severing ties to the right brain, right? So we'll look at, let's see, left brain. We're going to make it blue. It's calm, cool, collected, right? Cool was the other side of the pillow. So this is left. We got left brain, and we have the right brain, right? So left brain and right brain. So like I said, the left brain is logical. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. See, logical, rational. Let's see. Objective. So logical, rational, objective, right? Of course, if we look at the other side, the right brain would be illogical, irrational, and there's more to it, but these are just a few, right? And then subjective, right? Everything is about you. It's about what happened to me in the market, right? What happened to me in business? What happened to me on the road, right? Everything is subjective. It's also emotional. All right, cool. That's just a few that I would put in there. So we got it. All right, so let's keep going. So our left brain gives us the correct logical information while severing ties with the right brain, right? So it cuts off the irrational, illogical, subjective, emotional side, right? There's also the imaginative. And imagination can be good when you learn how to control it. Otherwise, it can be bad, right? Because you can imagine yourself, right, falling down the steps, right? I'm gonna not mention something crazy, but you can imagine that, right? So as long as the imagination is harnessed in the right direction, then the imagination is amazing. But it's only when it's in the proper direction, proper context. So we're gonna keep going, right? So staying tapped into our left brain during a trade will enhance your trading results, right? So if you're having challenges with trading results, what's happening, right? The left brain is being cut off because we're having an emotional hijack, right? The right brain is taking over. And if we stay tapped into the left brain by what? Being in peace, calm, taking a deep breath, drinking some tea, doing some things that are going to bring you into a balanced emotional state, right? If you're drinking energy drinks, that's going to take you into emotion, right? Even when you win, you're gonna like, oh my God, I won, right? Like it's gonna take you over the top, but still emotion, right? We want to be neutral. So when we are emotionally intelligent, we understand ourselves better and we find it easier to interact with others. We recognize, understand, and choose how to think, feel, and act during a given situation. Right? We ever found ourselves not knowing what to think, how to feel, how to act? It's because our emotions are taken over and we're not able to think clearly. So we as traders, right, we have the responsibility of controlling our emotions while we're trading. Maintaining emotional control during the day directs many of our daily actions and allows us to set the right priorities in our lives, right? So if we're not setting the right priorities, it's clearly because we're emotional, right? We don't know what to do. We don't know where to go. We're stuck in emotion, right? And we want to learn to tap into that left side of the brain versus the right side of the brain. And I know when we go back, it talked about this in a previous chapter, right? It talked about this in a previous chapter, that the emotional hijack, right? It temporarily shuts down the brain, right? In the previous chapter, right? And I'm gonna jot it down here too, right? The emotional hijack, when you're on this side right here, right? So we'll do this. You're stuck in that side, right? It's the emotional hijack. And during this emotional hijack, it makes you temporarily, I don't know if anyone remembers what it makes you temporarily do, but I'm gonna write it. It makes you temporarily insane, right? Temporarily. Now, if you find yourself in this state every single day, right? Constantly illogical, constantly irrational, constantly subjective, meaning everything is about you. Like the market didn't just move 100 pips, it moved 100 pips against me. I was about to get into the market and the market left me, right? That's you're having an emotional hijack, right? And you are temporarily insane, right? So we got to be mindful, right? How many times a day am I temporarily insane? Like we don't look at it that way because we're not taught that way, right? But if you constantly stuck in emotion, then we got to get a grip, right? We got to get a grip. Why am I saying this? Because it's real, right? Because it's real, right? There's times where I've been in the market and I had to like calm myself down. I'm like, whoo, all right, market just moved against me. Oh, all right. All right. So that's one thing that we got to be mindful of, right? In fact, I'm gonna go back. So there was a couple of things in here too. There was a whole list, and I'll mention a few of the other ones. It talks about the emotional hijack, which was there we go, 2 chapters ago, right? So I'm gonna get a little more left brain for you, right? Scientific. Spelling it wrong. Hold up. Bear with me. Scientific. Scientific, realistic, right? If you found anybody who uses these words, right, they're clearly left brain, right? You see somebody who's using those words, logical, scientific, realistic, that doesn't make sense, right? Scientific, right? Left brain, also analytical. Oh, one more. Forgot on the right brain, feeling, right? You're constantly in a feeling nature. All right, cool. That's emotional hijack, right? We're temporarily insane. All right, let's get back to where we are with understanding our emotional intelligence. All right, sweet. Here we go. So let's get to the meat and potatoes. So when we are emotionally intelligent, we understand ourselves better. We find it easier to interact with others. It allows us to do what is right and not act out how we feel. It defines who we are and participates in building our character. Maintaining emotional control during the day directs many of our daily actions and allows us to set the right priorities in our lives, right? That defines our character. It allows people to go to work and come home seeing the world differently. The big question is, what is of greater value, academic intelligence or emotional intelligence? Right? What's more important, academic intelligence or emotional intelligence? When it comes to time for me to interview new potential members of the Traders Institute team, I'm more interested in their emotional intelligence than I am in their intellectual intelligence. Why? Because we can teach anyone the skills, right? About what we do and how to learn quickly, right? So we can teach them just about any skill that when it comes to the market, and you can teach it to them pretty quick. However, it's painstakingly laborious to teach anyone emotional intelligence. This is because emotional intelligence has to do with naturally formed, subconscious, automatic responses to situations where the individual feels emotionally attacked or faced with the problem, right? So that's emotional intelligence, right? It's naturally formed, it's the subconscious, and it's automatic responses to situations where the individual feels emotionally attacked or faced with a problem. All right. I would rather know how they respond to and deal with situations, and how they process things, how they go about problem solving, right? And how they work through and resolve conflict, right? So those are the things that are going to be the most important things, right? Like I know a lot of times that we're taught in school, right? Like, oh, this person is super smart. Like, I mean, even when it comes to a lot of jobs, it doesn't really matter, right? It's understanding people, it's understanding the emotions, understanding the things that make this thing run, that make this thing go, right? And part of it is how we respond, right? Somebody cuts you off in line, right? You go to the grocery store, if you're driving a car, right? If you're at the checkout line, somebody jumps in front of you, how are you going to act? How are you going to respond? Right? All that is emotional intelligence, right? You can just jump out and slap the person, right? You had an emotional hijack. Like, had a whole emotional hijack, right? Pow! Emotional hijack, right? Now you got something else to deal with, right? Now you have something else, right? Now the police are looking for you, right? Because you had a whole emotional hijack, right? Like, and we don't want to be in that space, right? You don't want police looking for you. You don't want people looking for you because you had a whole emotional hijack. All right, so we're going to keep going, but that's why it's important, right? That's why the emotional piece is much more important than the intellectual intelligence, right? Anybody can match colors, right? What we do, anybody can match colors. So, right, you only need to know so much, right? Anybody can recognize candlesticks, right? Especially once you see them over and over and over and over again, anybody can recognize candlesticks, right? But it's how you process, right? It's how you filter when you get emotional about something, right? Because that's the thing, right? How are you going to respond when you feel threatened? How are you going to respond when you feel like you're in danger? How are you going to respond when you're feeling threatened, right? Those are the things that the emotional intelligence deals with. All right, so here we're going to keep going, right? You can alter your life, your attitude, your destiny, and trading results by understanding emotional intelligence, right? And you can feel free. I'm not going to type it, but you can alter your life. You can alter your attitude. You can alter your destiny and your trading results by understanding, really, and applying, right? Not just understanding emotional intelligence, because you can understand it and not do it, right? So understanding it and applying it, right? We understand it and apply it, and it's going to change our results. All right, so we're going to move on, right? Loving to trade and handling your emotions. So loving to trade and handling your emotions. In the scientific sense, emotions act as a gauge, a guide, a plumb line. They act as a compass, pointing us in the right direction, enabling human beings to experience joy, happiness, passion, and love. An emotion takes place when certain biological, experimental, and cognitive states occur simultaneously in the brain. Certain biological changes take place in the brain when the feeling of happiness is present in the mind. There is an increase of activity in a brain center that inhibits negative feelings and fosters a surplus of energy on standby. Feelings of love immobilize fear and anger, right? Feelings of love immobilize fear and anger. Like you're not going to feel them at the same time. Love generates a state of calm and contentment. If fear and anger are enemies to traders when trading, doesn't it make sense for traders to place themselves in a position of loving their trading careers, right? That's why at the beginning of this cause, what have we been going through consistently, right? Over the last probably month now, affirmations on faith, right? Affirmations on love. Why? For the same reason, right? For the same reason. This is exactly why. Like I could tell, like, you know what? Prosperity is great, but if you don't love yourself, you're not going to be prosperous, right? You're never going to get there. So we need to deal with the faith and the love, right? We need to deal with those things which are much more important, and everything else is going to come. All right, so we want to put ourselves in a position of loving our trading careers, right? We want to put ourselves into place of loving the market, loving what is going on, right? If you're not going to love it, then you're not really going to participate in it. And you're going to constantly find things that make you afraid because you're not loving it. So you got to fall in love with it. And you probably have never heard that before when it comes to trading or what have you. But it's really when it comes to success in anything, right? Even Steve Jobs said it, right? Steve Jobs, remember, he said this in an interview, of course, about Apple before he passed away. But he said in an interview, he was like, you got to love what you do, right? You got to love what you do. If you don't love what you do, then it's going to be hard. Every single day, it's going to be like, oh my God, do I got to do this again? I got to get on the computer and press some more buttons to make money. Jeez, I got to match colors again. Wow, how many days in a row do I have to match these colors, right? If you're not loving it, then you might want to think about that, right? You got to fall in love with it. You got to fall in love with the process. You got to fall in love with what it is that we're actually doing here, right? And again, like I said, love generates a state of calm and contentment, right? So if we're going to be in peace, if we're going to be poised, guess what? You're going to be in a state of love, right? You want to love yourself. So with novice traders, their fear of being one of the major emotional components driving their decisions in the market, right? So novice traders constantly deal with fear. So if you've been trading for a year and you're still feeling fear, you're a novice, right? We got to be real with ourselves, right? If you've been trading for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 10 years, hopefully not, right? At that level. But if that's the case, right, then you're still a novice because you haven't learned to deal with the fear. And that's one thing we have to overcome, right? Or we're just not going to succeed. You're not going to make the right decisions, right? Because you're going to get into an emotional hijack. Boom, you're going to be temporarily insane and irrational and subjective and imaginative. You're imagining the market is going to drain your account. That's imagination, right? You're in your right brain, right? So we got to get over the fear. It would be well advised to understand what is taking place in the brain to achieve mental clarity and success as we trade. So we got to understand what's going on in our brain, what's going on in our mind, right? We got to understand what's going on in our mind. Now, effectively managing our emotions increases intuition and clarity, right? Have you ever noticed when you're not in a trade, you're super clear? Oh, I knew what the market was going to do. Oh, look at that. It's a perfect pick and roll. I seen it go up. I would have took the trade right there. I'd have caught all them 80 pips, right? But then you're in the trade. You're like, oh my God. Oh, is it the 38? Oh, is it the 618? Oh, I'm gonna get in. Oh, it gave us an EC. Okay, we're good. Oh, no, it dropped 300 pips. I'm gonna get in now. No, you're late, right? Right? It's easy to see it when you're not in an emotional state, right? You're in a logical state. You're rational. It's objective. Why is it objective, right? When you're not in the trade? Because you're not in the trade. It's objective. You can look at it like, oh yeah, look, I can see it clearly. It's a triangle offense. I can see it all day long, right? But when you're in a trade, you're like, the triangle printed. What do I do? You're having an emotional hijack, right? You're having an emotional hijack, right? We want to be mindful. We want to know what's going on, right? And again, effectively managing our emotions increases our intuition and clarity, right? It increases our intuition and our clarity, right? We as traders need intuition and clarity before. I want everybody to write this down, right? I'll throw this in the chat. I'll throw this in on the screen, right? Boom, we're gonna throw it on there. So intuition and clarity. Boom. All right, cool. Just want to make sure I can see it. All right. So let me switch up the color. So traders need I'll make it really big. They need it. Not cool if you have it. It's not cool if you're trying to get it. No, you need it, right? Traders need, boom, intuition and clarity. Need intuition and clarity, right? Hope everybody's writing this down. Intuition and clarity before, right? We need it before. When do we need it? Before. We need it before, right? We need it before. Where is it? Okay, there we go. During we need to make this a little more bold. Before, during, and after a trade. Right? So to be a successful trader, we need intuition and clarity before, during, and after a trade, right? So before, everybody has it before, right? We need it during, and we need it after. We need it after the trade. Why? Here we go. Letting our emotions run wild can destroy potentially productive outcomes in our lives, right? It can destroy it. And if left alone to run wild, they can and will destroy our trading outcomes and trading destiny, right? So we don't have intuition and clarity, then it's going to destroy our trading results, right? It's going to destroy where our destiny, right? Essentially where we can go, right? It's going to destroy it. Choosing to control and constructively handle our emotions helps us self-regulate our brain chemicals and internal hormones, right? So choosing to control and constructively handle our emotions helps us to self-regulate our brain chemicals and internal hormones. Learning to master our emotions is the real foundation for clarity, right? So that's it, right? Learning to manage our emotions is the foundation for clarity and the enjoyment of life. It brings newfound freedom, right? So it brings newfound freedom. And we got a couple of moments left. So I'm going to do this part right here. So we're jumping to the next section. It's called recognizing the power and importance of emotional intelligence. So check this out, right? The Center for Creative Leadership wrote in 1994 that 75% of careers are derailed for reasons related to emotional incompetence, right? So let's write this, right? This was in 94. What you think it is now? Worse, right? In 1994, 75%. Hold on, I need another color for this. Multiple colors on this guy. 75%, right? 75%. $75. 75% of careers so 75% of careers are derailed for reasons related to emotional incompetence. So pretty much you can say, right? 94, 75% of, you can say careers or people, 75% of people, because who has the careers? People have the careers. So 75% of people fail right here, right? And this is everything. This is not just trading, right? 75% of people fail because of emotional incompetence. Right? This is a study. I didn't say it, right? I'm just reciting it, right? 75%. Think about that. 3 out of 4 people fail and their careers are derailed, right? That means they fail. They mess up because of emotional incompetence. That means they don't know how to handle their emotions. Like that's it, right? They just don't know how to handle their emotions. Right? 75% fail. That's wild. Including inability to handle interpersonal problems, unsatisfactory team leadership during times of difficulty or conflict, or inability to adapt or change or elicit trust, right? So people have an inability to change, inability to adapt to change, and an inability to get people to trust them, right? To elicit trust. So people don't trust them because they don't know how to keep their emotions in check. In other words, it's far better to be emotionally intelligent than intellectually intelligent. John Gottman, a PhD who studied emotional intelligence, stated that in the last decade or so, right? So last decade or so, this book was written in 2013, 2014, right? So in the last decade or so, science has discovered a tremendous amount about the role emotions play in our daily lives, right? They found out a lot about the role emotions play in our daily lives and our work lives. Researchers are coming to the conclusion and have found that even more than IQ, your emotional awareness and ability to handle feelings will determine your success and happiness in all walks of life, including family relationships, right? I mean, think about it. Who do you want to be around that spazzes out all the time? Nobody. Nobody wants to be around somebody who spazzes out, right? No one wants to be around someone that can't keep their stuff together, right? You don't want to be like, you don't want to go out somewhere and have a good time, and every time you go out, cousin Ricky is always cussing somebody out, right? That kind of takes away from the time, right? That kind of takes away from it because he doesn't know how to handle his emotions, right? And it could be he or she. But again, this is a guy that studied, right? John Gottman, you can look him up, PhD. He studied emotional intelligence. He said it, right? That even more important than our IQ, because they praise it everywhere, right? IQ, our emotional awareness and ability to handle our feelings will determine our success and happiness in all walks of life, right? So it's not even just important that you just do it because you want to be a better trader. It's just if you want a better life, right? If you want a better life, you really want to understand how to handle your emotions. Learn how to be emotionally intelligent. The world needs to incur a paradigm shift, enabling it to start thinking, understanding that all emotions, love, appreciation, anger, or anxiety are energies that have to be accounted for because they create our actions, whether actions of love or actions of retaliation. Each of us is personally accountable for the cause and effect of our emotions, our attitudes, and our actions, right? You definitely want to write that down, right? Each of us is personally accountable for the cause and effect of our emotions. We're responsible, right, for our emotions, our attitudes, and our actions. Negative emotional energies wreak havoc on our own lives as well as the lives we touch. Now, I'm going to underline that, right? I would type it. If somebody could type that, please, in the chat, I'm going to read it again because I feel like this is super important, right? I feel like this is super important. It's not something that it typically gets touched on. Negative emotional energies, right? Anger, fear, frustration, like you said, self-pity, regret, denial, right? All these things, right? All these negative emotions, right? You constantly feel like, oh, someone is doing this to me, right? The victim, playing the victim status, right? All that is, it's negative emotion, right? Because it's fear on certain levels. Insecurity, right? Negative emotional energies wreak havoc, right? Like wreak havoc, like you understand what that means, right? It wreaks havoc, right? Not being emotionally intelligent, right? Negative emotions, they wreak havoc on our lives and the lives of the people that we touch. So clearly it's going to affect your trading. Clearly it's going to affect you when it comes to building this business. Why? Because if you're not able to keep it together, like who's going to want to work with you? Right? It affects the lives that we touch. And in the end, right? And in the end, will often cause mental, emotional, and physical disorders, right? So this again, it's super important, right? On many levels on why we need to get our emotions in check and why we should be emotionally intelligent. Because eventually, right? If you keep going down that path, right? You're 20, 30, 40, 50. Maybe that's enough, right? Maybe you get to 50 or 40, right? If we're constantly not dealing with these negative emotions, it's going to cause us mental, emotional, and physical disorders, right? And a lot of times there's people walking around with disorders and they don't know it, right? It's not like you're just like, you can't walk to the bathroom by yourself, you know what I mean? Or you need help eating your food, right? Nah, it's there's very slight things, right? Like you can't focus or you can't pay attention that much, right? Again, these things, right? These things are important. These are things that we really want to pay attention to. So, all right, traders who are controlled by their negative actions as they trade ultimately never make it, right? Traders who are controlled by their negative actions as they trade ultimately never make it. By applying emotional intelligence to almost all problems and issues in our personal life, as well as trading, you can see more clearly in the direction you need to go to stop your self-defeating behavior, right? At the end of the day, being stuck in negative emotion is self-defeating behavior. So all the things we mentioned at the beginning of the call, right? The anger, if you're stuck in anger, it's self-defeating behavior. If you're stuck in self-pity, it's self-defeating behavior, right? If you're stuck in regret, it is self-defeating behavior, right? If you're stuck in denial, it is self-defeating behavior, right? If you're stuck in that victim mindset, right? If you're stuck in like somebody owes you something, right? And I mean, I talk to people about this all the time, right? But, right. And I know in this country, a lot of things happen to certain groups of people, but at the end of the day, right? what good does it do to us to look to someone else for anything, right? Oh, this person should give me money. They should give me resources. They should give me a job. They should give me these things. Why? Because you're in a victim status at that level, right? When you're constantly looking for someone else, oh, give this to me. Please, I need you to give this to me. You're in a victim status, right? That's a negative emotion. Why? Because you don't feel like you have the power to get it yourself, right? You don't feel like you're capable enough to get it yourself, right? You don't feel maybe intelligent enough, smart enough, whatever it is, right? To get it yourself. That's a negative emotion, right? That is a self-defeating behavior, right? It's a self-defeating behavior, right? So we really want to be mindful of that, right? If we begin to get into the habit of recognizing when a situation or circumstance triggers our emotions, that's everything, right? I've been reading a book on habits and talks everything about that, right? The habit loop, which is a trigger, right? Something that triggers our emotions. When you start to recognize what your triggers are, what triggers your emotions to default to a downward spiral, and you observe that an emotional hijack may be starting, then you have already crossed the first bridge, right? When you can identify an emotional hijack, you've already crossed the first bridge. And I had that the other day, right? I was in the market. I think it was 2 weeks ago, right? I'm trading in the market. Like I woke up, everything was good. I wasn't in my normal habitat, right? I was at a different place trading. And then I remember I was talking to somebody or somebody was talking to me, and I felt off, right? And I really wasn't in the space that I wanted to be in. And I end up losing the trade, right? End up losing the trade. And then this person still talking to me. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't do this right now. Like this is just, no, not right now. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do this right now. And I found myself getting worked up, right? I felt the emotion rising. It was like here, like in my throat. And I almost said something that I probably shouldn't have said. I said, you know what? Let me just breathe, right? Let me just breathe. I didn't count. Some people count to 10, but I was like, let me breathe. Let me think positive, right? Let me start saying my affirmations to myself. And I got to the place where I realized, oh my God, I'm having an emotional hijack, right? So I was able to be aware of it. So I didn't spaz out on the person because I started telling myself the truth, right? Hey, you know what? I lost the trade because of me. I lost the trade because, hey, I wasn't in the proper state of mind, or I lost the trade because I didn't identify something on the chart, or I jumped in too early. I was trying to anticipate where the market was going versus waiting for my confirmations, right? So I started telling myself the truth, right? And then I took a break because it was opening bell, right? NASDAQ flying, pew, pew, right? It's going all over the chart. So, so that was the moment. So I took a moment, 5-10 minutes or whatever. Like I said my affirmations, started breathing. I said, you know what? It's not going to do any good for me to point to this person for my results, because at the end of the day, I hit the button, right? At the end of the day, I hit the button. Okay. I think I lost like $40 or something. Wasn't crazy, but still, right? If it was a larger lot size, I'd have been really mad, right? But $40. And, but I had to realize that, wow, I'm having an emotional hijack. And how I respond to this person, right? It's going to make them feel a certain way. And at the end of the day, it's not their fault. It's not their issue, right? Because they were trying to help me. They're like, hey, do you want something to eat? Hey, do you want something to drink? And I'm just like, don't talk to me right now, right? That's what I said in my head. I'm just like, I just lost the trade. It's like 400 pips. I'm like, don't talk to me. Not right now, right? That's what was in my head. But that's not what came out of my mouth, right? Because I was able to say, you know what? Let me dial it back. Let me pull it in. Let me realize that I'm having an emotional hijack and respond differently, right? So but that's what it's talking about in the book. They say when you do that, when you're able to do that, it was super empowering, right? I felt like a superhero. I'm just like, my emotions didn't take control. Yes, the left brain has won, right? It's literally how I felt in the moment. But it was serious, right? But it says after you do that, you've crossed the first bridge, right? Recognition and awareness are the first step. What you do next is critical. Now it's time to pause and think before speaking, right? So boom, that was the next step I did, right? I was able to pause and think, right? The left brain was, I'm sorry, the right brain, the left brain was cut off at that moment, right? I had to breathe, right? Calm down. So then the right brain shut down, right? And my left brain was able to be more open, right? The information that I really wanted to say and express, right, could actually come out, right? So right, like it says, first step is identifying it, recognizing it, right? Then the next step is pause and thinking before speaking, or better yet, if you have time to remove yourself from the situation and return once you come up with a well thought through answer or position, you will start to see a noticeable difference in your life for the better, right? So that's the whole process that I went through, right? So I went through a whole emotional hijack, but bless the Lord, right? I was able to come out and come out of that emotional hijack, right? And be able to respond in a positive way, respond in a loving way, be able to respond in a way that was successful, right? And then I went on and ended up like crushing it in the market, right? It was like, I don't know, something crazy like 2,000 pips, right? The rest of the day. But I had to get out of that space first, right? But I felt it. I was there. I was like, whoo, okay, this is real. All right, so we're gonna do this and we're gonna end because it's 9:15. As traders begin to habitually, right? You make it a habit. As traders begin to habitually, right? So everybody on this call, everybody's listening to my voice, as you habitually recognize your negative emotions and you shift them, right? Just like we used to do, shift, right? Shift in the market, right? You recognize your negative emotions and shift what is taking place on the inside, those negative emotions, right? You change them into positive actions. Your trading will take a 180-degree turn, right? So if your profit curve looks like this, right? Your profit curve will begin to look like this, right? It'll continually be up. Why? Because you have habitually learned how to recognize your negative emotions and shift them, right? You shift what's taking place on the inside into positive actions, right? So you don't just get mad at the market. I'm just placing another trade. I'm going in at a higher lot size, right? Like, who's that really going to affect, right? You going in at 10 cents a pip. You lose a trade. I'm going in at 50 cents a pip. Like, you're going to make the market mad because you went in at 50 cents a pip, right? Or you trading $2 a pip. You're like, now I'm going to go in at $10 a pip. How about that, market? The market ain't going to be upset. Hopefully it goes in your direction, right? Because you are over leveraging. You know what I mean? But that's a negative emotion, right? You lose a trade, I'm getting my money back. That's not how you do it, right? That's an emotional hijack. Exactly, right? Like, yo, like you want to fight the market, right? You can't fight it, right? You can't beat it up. You can't, right? It's like you take the L and move on, right? You can't beat the market. You can only participate, right? You're not creating the market. You don't got billions of dollars in a trade. So come on, you know what I mean? You don't got $50 million on a single trade. So you're not going to move the market. So, right, we recognize it and we're able to respond positively. And our trading, right? Your trading is going to take a 180-degree turn, right? So each success at effective problem solving will build more self-confidence and assurance. Each success, right? So what, you know what that means? That means there has to be consistency, right? So if you have a challenge with consistency, you need to work on this. Like, this is the only thing that you got going on in your life. Because again, they said this affects your whole life. It affects family, it affects your work, it affects your career. It affects everything. So it's not just about trading. Like, this is a skill you need for life. So if you don't have it, or if you're constantly dealing with emotions, or you're always emotional, you should work on this. Like, there's nothing else to work on in your life, because there isn't, right? This affects everything. So each success at effective problem solving will, 1, build more self-confidence. 2, it'll build more assurance, and it'll lead to excitement and enthusiasm at the trading table. Cool. So we're gonna cap off right there, right? That was just some of the importance of the emotional intelligence. and we're just about finished with chapter 6, but there's a few more major things in here, but I don't want to keep going. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. Man, emotional intelligence is everything, right? This is why I tell people all the time. It's yes, the skill. You listen, we're gonna teach you how to match colors in a week, in 2 weeks, right? Say a month, right? Say it takes a month to learn you how to match colors. The rest of it is this, right? This is emotional intelligence. This is why it takes people 5 and 6 years just to get trading down, because no one is teaching people how to deal with their emotions, right? So we learn how to deal with our emotions. We become emotionally competent, right? Not incompetent. We're emotionally competent. We know how to deal with situations, right? We don't just spaz out, right? I know people who just start yelling, right? People just start crying. People just they run out of the room, right? It's like we got to learn as people how to deal with our emotions, right? So that's what it is, guys, for our Mindset Monday. Appreciate you guys for locking in. As always, you already know you could have been anywhere else in the world, yet you are here with us.
Here with us.
Absolutely, guys. Much love to you guys. Much success to you guys. It is 9/20, January 24th. 4 more days, just so you guys know. Please do not say anything right now, because it weirds me out. My birthday is Friday, so don't tell me happy birthday today. It's January 28th, right? Don't tell me early, because it really freaks me out. I'm just like, I don't get it. So I'm giving you a heads up, right? It's January 28th, so feel free to hit me up. But yes, emotional intelligence, right? Emotional intelligence, guys. This is one thing that we constantly want to focus on. And again, it's going to revolutionize our trading. It's going to revolutionize how you build the business, right? It's going to revolutionize everything that we are doing, everything that we are touching. So please lock in. I will definitely make sure the recording gets out to you guys. I'm about to stop it now. And you already know, I want to see you guys at the top, because the bottom is way too crowded. Much love to you guys. Have a great night. God bless. And I will talk to you guys same bat time, same bat channel next Monday night. Have a great night, guys.
Have a great night, everyone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.